just wasn't sure how much I should really get involved in this Yom Tov Sheni Kalchosa stuff, because it's a whole life of its own. It has a lot of shilas, very negia alocha lamaisa, and I guess we're going to skip it. And when you ask questions, then you ask the questions when they happen. Okay, Tov Tzadik Zayin. Dini hachana b'Yom Tov. Ein tzadim dogim min abivarim. You cannot catch your fish that are in the aquarium in your house. Afilu b'mokom she'einu mechusarim tzeda. Even if it's in a place that, according to halacha, it's not called mechusar tzeda. Lefi she'abivor rochav harbe v'adogim nishmatim elech ve'elech. The beaver is wide, and the fish float away from you. Now, in order for me to explain this halacha, I have to give some background information. There's a halacha which we're going to learn later on in this siman, that it's if a person has cows or birds and he wants to shech them on Yontif, he has to prepare them before Yontif. He has to say, Harez Muchon, he has to designate them, right? So now here we're saying, even if these fish are pre-designated, you still can't take them. So the question is, why can't you take them? If you already designated them, and there is no problem of Mechusar Tzeda, so where's the problem? So the answer is, we'll see the Mishnah Berurah, and the answer is because there's a tircha to get them. In other words, one of the things that are asr on Shabbos and on Yontif, which people have a hard time wrapping their head around, is tircha. Tircha is something which is a problem. You can't do things that are tircha. So even if they're not mechusar tzeda, and that means that technically, what does it mean, something that's not mechusar tzeda? It means that you can get them easily, but fish are an exception to the rule. And the reason why, as the Mishnah Berurah will say, is because you can't see them, and they always find some nooks and crannies to get into. The Magen Avraham, the Mishnah Berurah brings down Magen Avraham that speaks about if the water is clear, then perhaps that halacha doesn't exist, and that there's a bit of machlokes about that. But fish are an exception to the rule because of the way that they respond. It's called that there's tircha involved, and that tircha is enough to make it into a problem. Okay. What is a beaver? It's a fish tank. If it's from the river, for sure it's aser. Why? The tzeda gemura, the aser kiksir betchino shar halachas. It's aser because you're doing a malacha to catch it. That's v'gam muksa. Afil b'makom she'en mechusar tzeda. Ratzalaymer sha'beaver cotton. It's in a small aquarium. She'en tzarach loymer havim mitzuda v'nitzuden. I don't have to say, go and bring me an apparatus to catch it. And if you have other animals that they would be in this situation, they're called caught, and there's no problem. But gabi dogim, since they're not easily seen, and the beaver is wide, they go into the nooks and crannies. They're not considered nitzad as far as this is concerned. It's a tircha. Because of Magen Avraham, imamayim tzlulim v'roya hadogim mutter ki ein mechusar tzeda shabi cotton. When there's clear water, it's easy to get them. It will be mutter. V'yesh ma'achron sheservin dal kaponim mitam muksa also latzudam, because they're not considered that they are ready to be captured. Okay. The inyanim noslim b'odiyom b'tech teva yivor lekamon. Okay.
So even though you are allowed to eat fish and fair because of Ochel Nefesh, this the malach of tzeda is considered to be such a like reaping, harvesting.
Right.
You're
it's
not
not
to do malachas which are further down.
Right. Further earlier, not further down the line, earlier in the line. You're only allowed to do what's called milisha ve'elech from
Right, so
later.
The malach, which is further down the line of malach, is to prepare food.
Right.
Bread.
Right.
Right.
Okay. Dogim v'oifos chayesh ehem muksa, ein mashkin oisam b'yontif. You're not allowed to give them to drink. Ve'noisen b'fnei mezonos. You're not allowed to give food in front of them. Why shema yavo likach mehem? We're afraid a person may go to use them. V'chol masha oser le'ochloi u l'shtamish boy mipnei shu muksa oser letaltaloi. And whatever you're not allowed to eat, you're not allowed to be metaltal. It becomes muksa like on Shabbos. Okay, so this is a fascinating halacha, and this halacha is referring to things which are mizonoisa molecha. We're talking about something which a person has an obligation to feed. You're still not allowed to feed them. Even things which you have an obligation to feed, you're not allowed to feed them. And we'll see the Achronim say you have to put the food not in front of them, that they have to work a little bit to get their food on Shabbos. You can't give it to them, five-star manner. It has to be that they have to work to get it, and then that's not called you gave it to them. Midatala atam b'muksa mashma duha din behema. Can go behema midbarius, a wild behema, that it says later on. Okay, go in avos tarnagol ha'oim del gadol beitzim. You have chickens that are there for creating eggs, not to eat. Even though these minim, there's no problem of tzeda. Why? Kivan dehem muksa also lashkoisim. Since they're muksa, you're not allowed to give them to drink. Shamayav lecho mehem b'yontif. Avalakama b'sev zayin sosav ha'machabe kedasa poisku detoli adover b'tzeda b'chol mashem chusim tzeda mutar lifnei mezaynis v'kosa b'chodesh t'chein oigal adam v'chein hu ikar ayin sham, that if it's not mechusar tzeda, then it's not even going to be muksa. Okay, ein mashkin ve'ein ois mufneim kosa achorim dafka lifnei hem mamash oser. You can't put the food right in front of them. Aval nosa barocha k'tzas mehem ve'en boam b'ochlo neslam bo. Why? Kivon de oisa hekera midkar v'le osi likach mehem. You'll remember not to take from them, because since you have to feed them in an abnormal way, so you'll understand that it's yontif, and you won't come to take from them. You'll take
the food back?
No, you're going to take them and shech them.
You're allowed to shech the chicken,
but not the ones
designated.
They're right.
And not the rest.
The ones that are not designated, or they're not the kind, Okay. Shema yavo likach mem v'lo oichlan ubehema tmeya d'lo shayech zeh muter l'kuli alma. And if you have a treifa animal, which you have a horse, a dog, yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, no chash you're going to shecht your dog, okay? For many reasons. One of them is that that's not how you eat dog meat. Okay, okay.
So then, in theory, you should be able to feed it, because that's
you can. That's as you said. That's not in theory. That's what he says. You're allowed to feed your dog because there's no chash that you're going to eat your dog, right? And I don't know if the reason why is because of this halacha. The other reasons why you wouldn't eat your dog. Okay, so now it doesn't taste good. All right. Afilu safik tzeda aser kigoy mitzudas chayav dog v'oiv shehem perushas me'erev yontif u'lemocher moitzu behemas urim elim ken yoder shenitzu mi ba'od yom. I put out a trap on erev yontif, and I came on yontif, and I see I have something caught inside. So I don't know if it was caught before yontif or on yontif. If it was caught before yontif, so then it could be that was muchan and it was prepared. But a safik muchan is also aser.
Even if you're not aware of it, it's considered mukhan?
Right. But right.
You don't have to consciously say anything.
Right.
You put the trap out.
Ela im ken yadua shenitzuru mi ba'od yom. You have to know. V'matza mitzudas mikulkalais mi b'erev yontiv yadua shem erev yontiv nitzuru. And if you find the mitzudas already, messed up, so you could assume that it happened on erev yontiv. Okay, let's see the Mishnah Berurah. Safek tzeda. Afagav the kama poiskim ikir tzeda b'yom tov einu min haTorah. K'mo shesosto gam k'machaber le'il. Mikol mokom mechvir kan afilu b'sveika. Mishum dover sheyesh lo matirin. This is a fascinating general rule. Dover sheyesh lo matirin were machmer on a safek. What does that mean? The Ran says there's a klal. Ache tochlena beheter. Since I have a way that I can eat it without having a problem, so then I'm machmer even on a safek. Now I'd just like to share with you, there's a fascinating tzlach which has to do with this subject. And one of the things from probably the most written about Shilas, about Davar Sheyesh Lo Matirin and Yontif and Shabbos, is the following question. I'm going to say this over because this is a question that I believe that from the people that are here, at least one of you, at least once, has bumped into this question. And it's a fascinating question. You go to Sheva Brochus, and they put candles on a chair, for people to light, and they lit the candles. Now that chair really became muksa. So the people that were cleaning up, somehow they got rid of the candles that were there, and they put the chair in the pile of chairs. So now that chair is muksa, and it's yesh lo matirim because after Shabbos, you could use it. So the halacha should be that it's not batel, and therefore you can't use any of the chairs that were put in the stack. Okay, and I'm sure that this is a very very common occurrence that this happens. So now there's a tzlach which says a fascinating thing, and there's a big machlekes whether we paskin like this tzlach. Tzlach is the Rabbi Yehuda, and he says, what was the reason that we said that you have to be machmar davar sheyesh lo matirin? Ache tochleno be'iser tochleno beheter. What about if I could use it many times? In other words, my chicken, I can only eat it once. So I wait till tonight, and then you could eat it beheter. My chair, I could use it tonight beheter, and it doesn't infringe on my eating it tonight, whether I use it today be'iser. So when do I say ache tochleno be'iser tochleno beheter? When it's one or the other. But perhaps if you can do both, that halacha doesn't apply. This is a fascinating idea that's used by the poskim many times to be mekel, with the combination of other things also. Okay. V'asur ma'afilu b'tiltul milu la'erev muter b'achila afilu v'ari nitzer hayoim d'lo b'inin kedei sheyasa kivan shelo nitzer b'dei adam rak b'meila. A malacha that was done on Shabbos or on Yontif, you have to wait b'chdei sheyasa in order to use the item. But something that happened by itself, you don't have to wait b'chdei sheyasa. Or like a animal getting caught in a trap. Did you do anything? No. Okay, I will ask you a question. If I set a trap on Shabbos and I catch something, am I chayiv midaraisa?
Midaraisa, no.
What?
No, not midaraisa.
Why not?
Because
It's not even that.
It's causative.
It's not even that. He's trying to say it's groma.
Right.
We don't hold the shisas kela. Right. But and it's not, in order for a person to be chai for tzeda midaraisa, it would have to be that he chased something into a cage, or he put it right there, right when he saw it was coming. In a very specific cases that. But here, what happened is I put out a trap, and the thing went into there by itself. So I only have to wait sheyasa if somebody did a malacha. Nobody did a malacha, and whatever it was that got caught in the thing, he definitely wasn't trying to do any malacha either. So therefore, you don't have to wait sheyasa.
If you use that animal on Yom Tov, were you over anything?
Yeah, it was mechusar tzeda. It says v'achinu es asher taviu. The halacha is, this is the first 10 dafim in Masechtas Beitzah is about this idea of you need hachana, right? You're learning Beitzah?
We learn Beitzah.
Okay, but you know what I'm talking about, right?
This is Beitzah.
This is a very important yesod. Your food that you eat on Shabbos and on Yontif need hachana. Hachana is not that you're supposed to be busy preparing your food. The food that you eat has to be prepared. That's not, I did not say the same thing twice. It's the food has to be prepared, means designated. Okay? And if it wasn't designated, then you're not allowed to eat it. So that's the problem.
Was it that it's not that a malacha was done, a malacha would say it,
No.
that it wasn't available?
Right. It's not, you're only allowed to eat things that were designated. Okay? V'matzah b'metzuda v'kolkolis, koloimer sh'ametzudas prusas ba'oirech rav, v'kshachai nofeles b'roisha echad, v'itoch sher misparekes v'natekes lotzes mekalkolos kulon v'roishon hasheni gam kein nitach mimokmin shenitka. Somehow it's like in a long rope, and when they get caught in one place, the whole thing gets messed up. Al kain af makom zeh lo yira shum davar nitzad, even though you can't see anything caught. Mikol makom simru shenitzachai v'oiv b'rosh hasheni, and you know that there was something caught, and therefore it was already muchan. Okay, Safek muchan muter b'yom tov sheni. Safek muchan is muter yom tov sheni mishum dahavi sveik sveika. B'yom tov sheni shel Rosh Hashanah l'shnei yom t'ur haruchta v'chen yom tov sheni sabach l'Shabbos dahavi sveik sveika shemen ein hayom yom tov, and it doesn't need hachana. V'shema nitzvot esvol ukvar huchan, and maybe it was already captured yesterday. V'lo machrin mishum sheyesh le matir in the and we're not machmer on davar sheyesh le matirin on safek muchan, kiven shu sveik sveika gemura lehetera. Since it's a sveik sveika gemura leheter, ve'en kan iser klal. V'yesh cholkim azev desil lidon diyanter sheni lo mitam safek shari bekir ono begiva diyachira. V'yoydim onu shuchol el she'onu mekayim minig avosenu have yom tov vaday midrabanon. So nowadays Yom Tov Sheni is more chomer than it was b'mei Chazal, not b'mei Chazal, but before Chazal, b'zman of the Beis Hamikdash. Ve'en kan el safek echad v'aser. V'yesh lahachmer kesor zu no b'makom hefsek gadol. So this is a fascinating idea that Yom Tov Sheni today is more chomer than it was when it was instituted. Because when it was instituted on a safek. Today, we have no safek. We know exactly when Rosh Chodesh is. And so why do we do it? Because of the minig, it's minig avosenu b'yodeinu. So the minig avosenu b'yodeinu makes it that we're doing it b'teres vaday, not b'teres safek.
I would say there's no suffix. They say there's less suffix. It's a vaday that it's not yom tov sheni. I mean,
So right. So why do we do it? Right. So the only question that you should be asking me is the minig avosenu b'yodeinu is that it's a suffix, not that it's a vaday. Okay, but we're doing it mishum minig. We're not doing it mishum the suffix. We don't have the suffix. Okay. Okay. Im sachar amas hamayim baknisa ubayitzia me'erev yontif. A person diverted the river and he made a pool and he blocked off on the in and blocked off the out. Okay. Mutar likach mimenu daga b'yom tov. Dahavi nutzadim ba'omim me'achar sha'amas hamayim hi tzara ve'enu yochel l'shtamei. Since whatever was there, was caught before Yontif, and this is a very thin trough, so there's no tircha in getting it, so therefore it's permissible to be taken. Okay? Kedei shelo yikanzu chadashim shelo yetze yeshanim mutar likach umuksa ein kan the ma'isa schira choshuv k'moi shehizmin dogim yiduim, because plugging up the two sides of the I don't know what you call this. You made the kvish okef, that the water, I don't know, they must have some name for it. The So that's like you were mazmin whatever's there. V'muter lo livro l'fi ma shetzarech u'lahachzer hashar l'mayim toli bazeh im b'shar shesacha choshev she'esher yitztarech liyantu v'chol hadagim sheyimtzu ba'ama v'imken havi huchru kol hadagim. So it could very well be that all the dagim are not muksa. V'shap yochel al-halas k'mo sheyirtzu v'livro ha'gedolim ha'meshubachim v'lahachzer hashar l'mayim. And you can take out the ones that you like and put the other ones back. Avon b'shar shesasam amas hamayim ha'yodeh b'vari shelo yitztarech liyantu v'rach eze dagim. You know you don't need all of them. Imkein harei lo huchnu kulam. If they're not all muchan, ukeshabara umeniach katan, Igali Mil said the high lo huchan. Imkein tiltulam shalei letzarech. He's carrying them for no reason, so he wasn't allowed to pick them up. Igali Mil said the havi lo huchan. Imkein tiltulam shalei letzarech. V'lachein lo yivor v'yaniach hashar ela yikach tzach likach v'lecho ma sheyala biyadei. You have to take what you got. Okay? Okay. The reason why this is mutter, if the trough, or whatever, this pool that this, there must be some word for this. What? Channel, yeah, maybe that's the word to use. If it's wider than 6 tvachim, asur. Well, in orko mekilim harbe achronim afilo orko mukamo. Kivon she'enu rachov bekal yesh litros adogim. As long as it's not wide, it's easy to catch the fish. Afilo ba'oif and amuter gam ken yesh machmirin shaloi litzodim metzuda kederch shoisim b'chol ela biyad. You have to do it with a shinoi, not do it with your wet webbing fish net. ויש לחש שסבור זו לכתחילה, ולאו דווקא בסמל הוא עדים הכניס דוגם לטבע מולא נקובים ומירה במים, נמי שכר כל הני דוגם, יש מישהו שדקה בביבור בעמס המים, שעל כלפונים הדוגם הם בקרקע ומקום חיוסום. They're in their natural environment. מה שאין כשהם מונחים בכלי, לא שייך בהו כלל צידה, אפילו צריך להביא מצודה שרי. על כן, נראה שאין להחמיר בטבע ליטל ביד. I don't know, when I came to Eretz Yisrael, and when I was a little boy, as that's the Lafuke, after I was a little boy in America, and nowadays, when you would go to the fish and poultry store, they had like a mikveh. They had a what? A live fish. So there, if you go to the guy, and he wants to take a fish out of his thing, that could be that's mutter even with a net, because those are not b'mokam chiyusam. Mokam chiyusam does not mean that they don't stay alive. Mokam chiyusam means they're in their natural habitat. So if it's not in the ground in their natural habitat, so then they're understood to be that they're captured, and therefore you'd even be able to take them with the net. If I was learning this be'iyun, I would question whether that mikveh is called like in a kli, or if that's called that it's in the ground, because that mikveh is actually attached to the ground. But we perceive it as a kli. Okay. Okay. Avozim v'tarnagolis v'yonim shebabayis o shebachatzer ha'oimdim lachila muter letzodam. You have geese and chickens, pigeons in the house. They're oimdim lachila muter letzodam ve'ein tzrichin zimun, because they're muzman v'oimid. Ratzalam shegedil v'abayis oimdim lachila afukim heim oimdim labeitzim aser leman da aser muksa b'yomtiv v'mkona oifais Elu v'lechashav klal leizer davar yamirim mutarm d'nistama la'achilo kaimi. That's a shal in the Gemara. Mutar letzadam afilo mershus harabim. Even if they are right now in mershus harabim, afilo tzarich lahavi mitzuda dekivan deboyin l'chluvam ba'erev v'gam nizunim tamid b'bayis harehem kinitzodim. This is a fascinating concept in Masechtas Beitza. The last Gemara in Masechtas Beitza speaks about the behemoths hamidbarius and the ones the irius, the ones that come home twice a year but since they have a homing device to come home eventually, we consider them domesticated and they're always muchan. So he's not going that far right now, but he's saying ones that are in a, we'll use the example, a person has a dog. So a person has a dog, so the dog ran away. Don't worry about it, because tonight it'll come home, right? So even if you have to go and catch your dog in Rosh Hashanah, you're not really catching your dog, because your dog is homebound. Homebound, that's two different translations of homebound. He's bound to the home and he's going home. Both are true with the dog. Okay? Now I'm just explaining. So if the dog would be an animal that we would eat, if you have a sheep like that, then you would be, even if you had to go and catch it in Rosh Hashanah, it's called that it's caught because it's coming home. Since they come home at night, he calls that's if you grab them in order to shach them. Also the Kama Poiskim, K'mashahuva daitam le'il shintazayin, because achar the oif shekona mechodesh v'adayin lo hurgu b'bayis, eveinu bala kluva ba'erev, the bezeh chai b'shabes imtzod, gam b'yontiv also le'tzudam. If you have a new bird that didn't get home trained to come home at night, you cannot catch him in the street. Elam ken kintzul makam tzad, the b'chai yadam kasad the w'layla shem yeshim ala kaira mutal etzayim de and if they're asleep, or they're on their perch, you could also catch them because they're at that point defenseless. That you shouldn't come to pick one up and put one down. So picking one up and putting him back is something that one shouldn't do. Okay. Zayin. Shar kol chayes v'oif she'mechusarim tzeda tzarech loyma arhavi mitzuda v'nitzideno. If you have to say, let's get a apparatus to catch them. Also, you're not allowed to catch them on Yontif. You're allowed to catch them and put in front of them in Zaynas. Okay? The Sham Nizbar Kol She'en Yichol Netois Beritza Achas Al Tzach Linafesh Kodim She'agiano, you're going to have to rest. That's like you have to say, get a trap. But if you have a word oid sham, but oiva filo haya makom dachok, after the toisa b'sicha achas, mikol makom im chaloina gak pasuch sheyachol evrach derech sham also l'tzoydoi. Birds that they can fly away, that they're worse. Moto l'tzoyd dahainu im hizminum. The less by mishum muksa, halav hochi also toisa shariasu mishum tiltul. Okay. Ayol v'tzvi shekirinu bepardes v'yol doloi aforim v'adainim ketarim shenu tzichin tzeda. Even though these are non-domesticated animals, but when they're young, it's not that they're domesticated, but they're you don't have to trap them. They're available. Okay. V'davka b'pardes samach le'ir b'soich tchum. If I'm not mistaken, that's the word. B'soich shivim ayah. His mind is on them. But the mother, even if you had her in mind to catch her, it doesn't help because she's mechusar tzeda. And I think that the chiddush over here is that the mother, when she has her kids around, she's not going anywhere. So it's not hard to catch the mother when she's tending to her babies. But still, a mother by herself is still a wild animal. Okay. The part is Godor. Shu Mokum Mishtamer Shein Havlad Yochel Lotzes Misham Kabacham Bekalit Sodo, and it's easy to catch him. Mutarm Beloy Zimun. The Stama Darted Alayu Kol Shoshi Itztarach. You have a mind to eat these newborn things whenever you will need them. B'toch Shivim Ba'arba Tvachim Kilil Siman Shinun Ches. V'dait Yalai Kivan Shamakom Korov V'roy Oisam Tomid Lo Asach Adaiti Minayu Afilu B'stama. You don't forget about them, and they're muzman. Afilu Eno Samach in Mazmin in Vilolof. They're not samach, then you have to be consciously you have to be mazmin them. Kivan the Mechuser say Marisha part is Golosh Tzorch Lem Hava Nitzudam Mitzudeno. Fafilte Nitzudam Yalab Yom Tov Gam Ken Asr Mishum Muksa Kivan Shazman Asr Milad Yom Lo Cholsa. Since the Azmana didn't work, so you have to they're muksa. Okay, Yoyne Shaybach v'Yoyne Ali v'Tziparim Shekirinu b'Tvichim. Okay, these are birds that have their purchase. Also Litzadom Lefikachim Zimun Ein Zimun Moylahem V'Hani Mili b'Gedolim Avoktanim Sheinem Africhim Mutter Litzadom Avol Zimun Tzvichim. Okay. Ketzad Hu Zimun Sif Yud Oimer Zeh v'Zeh Ani Noitel Mochar. Ein tzarich lenanum. You do not have to physically move them. Avol omer mikarani noitel mochar loisagi. If you didn't say which ones, that's not enough. Im zimen kol hashayvach ein tzarich ela lezug. If I said I want to be mazmin the whole shayvach, but you only need one set, eino moil. V'im hoya efshe sheitzarich kol hashayvach yochel hazmin kol hashayvach l'motay noitel masher tzarich. You're not sure how many people are showing up for your Yontif Suda. So you could say, I'm going to Shech tomorrow, depending on the amount of people that come, then you can do that. What?
It's like the fisheries are any fish. You didn't specify which fish you're taking, did you?
No.
Is this specifically by birds that we're talking about? You have to specify birds?
Yes, but by the fish, you say what I'm going to take. That's he has to say. What I'm going to take, I'm going to use.
Even though you don't know which fish it is.
Right.
You have to specify a specific bird.
Right. Zimen Shnayim Umotza Shloisha. Okay, this is a whole bunch of Gemaras about this. You were mezamen on this perch 2 birds, and that's what there was there. And you come tomorrow and you find 3. O Zimen Shchayrim Ulevanim Bekinim Uvdalim B'mechitza. Umotza Shchayrim B'makom Levanim B'makom Shchayrim. Asura Elam Ken Makiram. They're also unless you can recognize them. In other words, if the birds did a trick on you, they lost their zimun and you're in trouble. Zimun shloisha umotza shtayim. If you mazmin 3 and you found 2, so the question is, do I say the 3 flew away and these are a new 2, or do I say that these are 2 and just one guy flew away? Zimun shloisha umotza shtayim mutar mafil haya mikusharim biyachad. Menatche adodi. They break off the knots. Okay. Zimin b'toich hakan u'motzel lefnei hakan asurim. Im ein siuseim kan acher harei elu mutarim. If there's no other kanim to say that they switch with anybody, so we'll by default say that these are the v'hani mili b'medadadim, that they're ones that they can wobble, yeah, I guess that's the word. I will imhei mafrichen asurim, because we'll say maybe they went away. These are totally new ones. V'afilu yesh kanacha b'sech hamishamam hu keren zavis she'ena yochol lirois mikan zeh kivan she'ena mafrichen el medadadim mishum kol hecha de medadle lo hada chazi lekani le medadle. They don't wobble away out of sight of their home. Yeah. Okay. We'll say they're the same ones. Okay. Eino Yehudi shehevi darin liyisrael b'Yom Tov b'nei yoda k'darim mishvachos sheyesh lo b'ir. A guy bought a Jew a present, some fresh pigeons. Kivan shein sichin tzeda mutarim, because he doesn't have that inyan, so he brought them to you. Then they're mutter. Okay. Okay. Hashochet behema b'yomtiv. Tov lo shelo yivdok ad sheyavshit. This is a Mishnah. Now, you shouldn't check the reya of the animal until you remove the skin, because after you remove this, if you didn't remove the skin and you find him treif, then you can't remove the skin. Okay? She'im yimtza treifa lo havi rishoy lavshita. So therefore, you have to do it beforehand. Okay. Yud Zayin. Im nimtza treifa also lataltalo. אבל מותר למאכל אין יהודי כדרך שהטיל למחיל יסוד שלא ישקול עד שיזכיר סכום דומים. ואם אינו מאמינו, ייקח ממנו משכן. So you're allowed to sell it to a guy on Yontif in the way that's prescribed that you're allowed to sell on Yontif. But the aside is that once you find him treif, then it's dead meat. It has to stay where it is right now. Okay. Now, next siman. This is an important siman. Ein maran sakin l'chochol l'yam tov lirasim huroi lishchapoy shevet te peguma v'yomer lo osa lishchapo b'emni vasoi v'yelach yader b'mashchezes. You before the old minig was that before a shechet would shecht, he would present his sakin to the chacham here, and the chacham would be ma'asher if it's sharp enough, there's no pegimus in it, it's good to go. And well, you don't do that on Yontif because we're afraid that he's going to say it's no good, and the guy is going to sharpen it to make it good. V'chocham shura sakin la'atzmo yochol ashir la'cherim. And the chacham who he himself checked his sakin, he's allowed to lend it to other people to shecht with it. V'achshav bezman hazeh shekol shechet ruah sakin ba'atzmoi kol hareitza lishchot b'yomtiv yivdok sakino me'erev l'yomtiv below b'yomtiv shema yishchizenu. He should check it before Yontif, they shouldn't have a problem. Miyu im loy bodko me'erev Yontiv v'shushas hadchak yochol levodko b'yomtiv. Okay, I'll just share with you a fascinating story about this. I happen to be a shochet by profession, and one of the shochtim that I learned shchita with for 3 years, actually a world famous shochet, I had to go through a process to be approved by him, and he told me to come on a certain day, and there's a procedure that has to be done. And it's a long story, but what's Naget over here, he put down his knives while he was talking to me, and they clanged, they touched each other. So he turned white, and he was biting both knives, and he says, I don't see anything wrong. He gave them to me to be biting, and I was biting them. I didn't find anything wrong. So I said, there must be they hit not on the lav, they hit somewhere else. She said, yeah, that's mustama what happened. He put them down, and then about 2 seconds later, he picked them both up, put them away, and put down 2 new knives. So I asked him, I said, what did you just do? So he said, I checked them, and you checked them. There's nothing wrong with them. But right now, we're before the shechita, and there's lachats. And why should I be soymech on a bedika of shas lachats if I could have a bedika without lachats? I have 2 more sakinim. I'll put out the 2 more sakinim, and when I get home, I'll check them again. That's what he did. So this is a fascinating story. This person is a world-class Yirei Shamayim and a world-class Talmud Chacham, and it was an important lesson, life lesson to me. I came to Eretz Yisrael, and I told this story over to my Rosh Yeshiva. And he said to me, I would like to share with you a story about the Shochet in Brisk. The Shochet in Brisk wrote a sefer called the Minchas Yosef, who was the great-grandfather of Mrs. Reichenberg. If you want to know who who you know that's a descendant of her. And the Beis Halevi was the Rav in Brisk. And before Rosh Hashanah, so the Shechtim used to come to have their Chalafim checked by the Rav. And the Beis Halevi checked to Minchas Yosef's sakin, and he said, there's something wrong with it, check it over. So what do you think a good Sheikhar would say? That's not what he said. He said, I'm not checking it over. So the Beis Halevi said, why aren't you checking it over? So he said, before I show my sakin to the Rav of the community, I checked it as best as I could. If I didn't find anything then, I'm not going to find anything now. And that doesn't mean there's nothing there, but I'm not going to find it. And then he said, and if the Rav found what I didn't find, that means I don't think I'm competent enough to be a shaykhit, and I retire. Okay? So this shaykhit happened to have been a Slonim Chassid, and the Beis Halevi was very moved by, here we have I finally got a shaykhit that I could trust, you know what I mean? And he goes and he quits on me, you know what I'm saying? So the shaykhit said, I'm not willing to shecht, and the Beis Halevi says, I want you bedafka to shecht. So the deal that was made was that the Slonim Rebbe is going to decide if he should continue being a shaykhit or not. Until this part of the story, whether in Brisk or in Slonim, the story is the same. What happens after this, there are different versions to the story. But these two stories, I say them over in tandem, because you have sometimes where the shaykhit says, I'm not going to check because I rely on myself 100%, like in the Beis Halevi story. And then you have the story with my shaykhit that says, I'm not going to rely on myself because the circumstances are such that maybe, so you have to know, where are you supposed to be? Are you supposed to be on this end or on that end? You have to know, in each case there's a different, where you have to be. Okay, anyways, let's see the halacha over here. Ein mar, now feeling kvar bodak bataboch ba'atzel be'erev yontif v'nimtza yafa, you shouldn't show it to the chacham. K'mo shayaminig bizman ha'chachmei hashas laras hasakin nach v'dikasu l'chacham shama yitiyah pagumo b'di'evet im heralo v'nimtza yafa muter l'shchepoi. Shara sakin le'atzmoi dahainu b'beisu b'yomtu k'dei l'shchet v'ayim brichot shemitzad afil l'chatchila yochel ha'chacham lira sakino shal atzmoi k'dei la'ashilu l'cherim. The Rav is allowed to check his own chal v'atam she'etir l'chacham. We're not afraid that the Rav is going to be Machalo Yontif. We assume that the Rav knows that you're not allowed to sharpen a knife. And we don't necessarily assume that the Shaykhit does. Okay? So this...
Can you explain the idea of sharpening a knife?
Sharpening a knife is the Isser of Makeh B'Patish. Yeah, but it's also on Yontif also. Makeh B'Patish also on Yontif. So, but the Chacham, we're not afraid that he's going to forget that it's Yontif and you're not allowed to do it. Whereas the Shaykhit, he will do what he does. I took out my sakin to shecht. He will do what he does. And we're afraid that he may forget. Roh sakin la'atzmo, shesamcha al kabbalah sheyesh loi. The Yivdak Sakirim Yav Yontif, V'lo Yachzer Asakin L'Nadin Shaloi, the Im Hachud Otzili Asakin Noigim Bekashus Hanadin Lo Mikrisu Sakin Bodik. If you put it back into its holster, it loses its Cheskas Kashrus. K'mo shekosov ha'tu ashor. V'kosu achroinim, the Nochon Sheyeh L'chol Tabach Shtayim Shos Sakirim Bedukim Erev Yontif. V'lo b'yontiv, dahainu b'dika rishona, or b'dika shetzorach lasos achar hashchita, but after one shechted, the one is obligated to check to make sure that the sakin is still kosher. Mutter de lo shach gabei shem yashchizeno iminsa peguma. De lo yoel hashchaz al hachsher shchita sheshachat mikoidem, even though you're planning to shecht more, but the checking it has to relate to that which you shechted with it. Okay, we'll stop over here.